All right, I have a couple of updates regarding Mohsen Mahdawi, Rumeysa Öztürk, and Mahmoud Khalil. We're going to lead off with our boy, Mohsen Mahdawi. The last that we covered of him, he was actually released on bail from detention, which it's weird. I don't know how you get released on bail when you're not even being charged for a crime. Okay, anyways, this is from Al Jazeera. Student protester Mohsen Mahdawi unveils legal defense fund for immigrants. Student protester leader Mohsen Mahdawi has appeared at the Vermont State House to help launch a legal defense fund to help immigrants like himself who are facing deportation hearings. And just a recap on who Mohsen Mahdawi is, he was detained, I think, last month. He co-founded several student groups, anti-Israel groups, pro-Palestinian groups, anti-genocide groups with Mahmoud Khalil. And when Mahmoud Khalil actually got arrested and shipped off to Louisiana, Mohsen Mahdawi essentially went into hiding. He didn't want to leave his house, etc. And he actually got an interview. I forget who it was that did the interview. The day before, he had a hearing to essentially continue the citizenship process. He's currently a green card permanent resident, and he was in the process of actually becoming a U.S. citizen. With that being said, he had an interview the day before, and he was telling the interviewer, he was like, I feel like this might be a trap to get me out so that they can arrest me. But this is my dream. This is what I've been working years to obtain, U.S. citizenship. So I guess I'm going to go. And he ended up going the next day with the interviewer. And lo and behold, as soon as he walks into, I don't know if it's an immigration office or a courthouse, but as soon as he walks in, you have 8 unmarked cars roll up, surround the building. You have a bunch of ICE agents, plainclothed ICE agents come out, and they walk in, and then you see them escort them out. So they honeypotted him. They said, all right, come get your U.S. citizenship. So he's like, well, I've been working for years. I can't just throw it all away. And boom. Detained and arrested, no charges, no crimes, claims of anti-Semitism, and he holds views that are adverse to, right here, adverse foreign policy consequences for the United States. So, yeah, no crimes, no anything. There's not an anti-Semitic bone in this dude's body. You can find tons of interviews of this guy speaking out against anti-Semitism, cracking down on it within his own groups. And they arrest him. What you're saying is, okay, yeah, you are against our foreign policy. You may have adverse consequences because our foreign policy is supporting genocide. And here's a little background about him. Further background: a legal permanent resident of the U.S., Mahdawi himself is a Palestinian and grew up in the Fars refugee camp in the occupied West Bank. He has publicly described the oppression he said he experienced there, including the deaths of his family members and friends at the hands of the Israeli military. Since Israel launched its war on Gaza, that's a weird way to spell genocide, on October 7, 2023, Mahdawi has been outspoken in his opposition to the military campaign. As an undergraduate at Columbia, he helped found student groups like DAR, the Palestinian Student Society, and Columbia University Apartheid Divest. The latter has taken a lead role in protesting ties between the school and organizations involved with Israel and its military activities. On March 8th, Mahdawi's colleague at DAR, Mahmoud Khalil, as we talked about, was the first student protester to be taken into custody for his role in the nationwide student protest movement. Others have since been detained, including Tufts University doctoral student Rumeysa Öztürk, who we will be talking about as well, who supporters say did little more than write an op-ed about the war in Gaza. I don't remember which video, but we did a video where we read the entire op-ed, and guess what? Spoiler alert, there's nothing anti-Semitic in there. There's nothing even controversial in there. Unless you think just asking your university to divest from Israel is controversial or anti-Semitic, then I'm sorry, but you've lost your damn mind, and you clearly, and I mean this respectfully, but you clearly lack an understanding of what's going on in Gaza and any Palestinian territory for that matter. Just a month later, on April 14th, Mahdawi arrived at an appointment in Colchester, Vermont, ostensibly for his U.S. citizenship application. Immigration officers, however, were waiting on site to arrest him, and he was led away in handcuffs. Mahdawi was accused of no crime. The Trump administration, however, has accused him of harassing Jewish students and leading pro-Hamas protests. Yeah, because anytime you protest Israel or protest on behalf of Palestinians being slaughtered, you're pro-Hamas. These people are so fucking disingenuous, and it hurts. This is crazy. This is insane. I'm not going to go into a rant because, like, I could do a whole video on how Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza, but there are hundreds of videos out there by far more better video makers than me on that subject that you can go watch. Just, Jesus Christ, please, if you don't realize what Israel is doing, then please, just learn more about this subject. That's all I can say to you. Governor Phil Scott, a Republican, called on federal government to release any evidence that they had on Mahdawi, or that Mahdawi was a threat to national security, and announced the superstitious manner of his arrest. Yeah. When you have a Republican to come out and be like, hey, what the fuck's going on here? Like, you're really off your skis. Ultimately, on April 30th, a federal district court deemed that Mahdawi was no flight risk and released him on bail, warning that the government's action could be interpreted as an attempt to shut down debate. In his public appearance on Thursday, Mahdawi thanked his fellow Vermonters for showing him support and called on the state to act as an example to others. Home is where you feel safe and loved, and those who surround you, they are your people, and you are my people, he told the crowd. This is a message of hope and light that our humanity is much larger than what divides us. Our humanity is much larger than unjust laws. Our humanity is much larger than being a Democrat or Republican, black or white, in a city or rural area. Mahdawi also described how, when he was in detention, he saw an undocumented farm worker praying on his knees each night before going to sleep. I think his prayers have been answered today by this initiative, Mahdawi said of the Legal Defense Fund. The fund organizers said they hope to raise $1 million to build a lasting safety net for immigrant families in Vermont. That sum, they said, would fund training and hiring legal staff to respond to what they described as an immigration crisis. So that's what we have on Mohsen Mahdawi, a very noble effort. And, like, the more I read about this guy and the more I learn about him and his background, what he said, what he's done, like, I don't know how you don't look at this guy as a fucking hero. Like, it's crazy. But no, according to the government, he's a terrorist sympathizer and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's, like, can you imagine? Just, like, the evidence is all out there. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to trust what I say. In fact, I don't want you to trust what I say most of the time. I would prefer you go and do some further research on anything I say, because that's constructive and that's just how it should be. Like, it's just, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. Anyways, regarding Rumeysa Öztürk, federal court rules Rumeysa Öztürk must be transferred to a detention in Vermont. We covered her arrest when it first happened. She was the one that it was recorded. She was just walking in plain daylight and then all of a sudden was surrounded by plainclothed police officers and ICE agents and just started taking her shit and, like, you know, like, it was crazy. It was crazy. Like, as anyone in that situation, I, like, imagine just being like, oh, God. It's crazy. And you heard no crimes, no charges, nothing. The only thing you can find of her, I'm sure there might be more, but the only thing you can find of her is her op-ed, which is, there's no anti-Semitism at all. There's not even a wink and a nod to endorsing Palestinian resistance against Israel. Like, there's nothing. It's just, it's crazy. Like, you gotta stop letting these people just bold-face lie to your face. Like, in the past, their lies were clever. It was kind of harder to look at. Like, now it's all out there. It is all out there for you to see. Federal Appeals Court in New York Wednesday ordered the Trump administration to transfer Rumeysa Öztürk, a Tufts University doctoral student from Louisiana to Vermont, to continue her immigration detention in that state while a judge decides whether to release her on bail. Trump administration has 1 week to comply with the transfer, a 3-judge panel of the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled. The District of Vermont is likely the proper venue to adjudicate Ozturk's habeas petition because at the time she filed, she was physically in Vermont, the panel wrote in its ruling. Yeah, and as I've mentioned before, is like they hurry up and ship you to a facility in Louisiana where they have like favorable immigration judges and the like, and then it gets put in this weird legal bind where it's like you can't challenge your detention. You can only challenge it in the state you were detained in. It's like, well, what the fuck, asshole? As soon as I was detained, you took me to a different state. Like, insanity. Ozturk has been detained at a federal facility in Louisiana after being arrested on the street of Somerville, Massachusetts on March 25th by 6 federal plainclothes immigration agents. The Department of Homeland Security later accused her of engaging in activities in support of Hamas. Are you seeing a pattern here? Are you seeing a pattern yet? Please tell me you're seeing a pattern. Everyone we've talked about and we're going to talk about, there's not even a hint of them supporting Hamas or being anti-Semitic. In fact, quite the opposite. Last year, she wrote an opinion essay in a university paper criticizing the school for its handling of a handful of resolutions passed by the Student Senate related to the Israel-Hamas genocide in Gaza, including one calling on the university's president to acknowledge and condemn the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Her attorneys say she's being held in violation of her free speech and due process rights and that the government has not shown any evidence that supports terrorism. She has not been charged with any crime. No one should be arrested and locked up for their political views, and that's exactly what's happening. And a step further, this is direct First Amendment violations. Freedom of speech, expression, that applies to everyone. Okay? I don't want to hear like their guest here. Shut the fuck up. The Constitution is meant to apply to everyone on U.S. soil. Okay? That's why we can't take a random tourist and just do whatever we want with them and torture them and shit. Like, Constitution applies to everyone. In a statement to NPR, DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin, oh boy, said having a visa to live and study in the U.S. is a privilege, not a right. Oh my God. She didn't do anything, bro. It'd be like if we were living in the 1930s, late 1930s, and someone was on a U.S. campus protesting Nazi Germany. Well, let's say we're funding Nazi Germany because we're funding Israel, and that's why people protest Israel and protest in the U.S. because we're funding it. But let's just say, and you arrested them and then deported them and said, yeah, you're a guest here. Fuck you. We don't want to hear what you say. It's like she's protesting Nazis and a genocide. That is what is happening now. Israel, Zionists, are the modern equivalent of fucking Nazis. Go look at what they're doing in Palestine. And this is from Tricia McLaughlin, today's ruling does not prevent the continued detention of Miss Ozturk, and we will continue to fight for the arrest, detention, and removal of aliens who have no right to be in this country. No right to be in this country. Oh my God. In court documents, the Trump administration has claimed that ICE sent Ozturk and other students to Louisiana because there was not enough detention space in immigration facilities where they were arrested. They've said that no matter where they've arrested people, whether it's fucking New York, Vermont, or Massachusetts. But a federal judge in Massachusetts found earlier last month that there were detention beds available in Maine, a state closer to Vermont than Louisiana. Wednesday's ruling by the Second Circuit Court of Appeals is a win for Ozturk. Legal experts have said that the fighting deportation is more challenging in Louisiana than in Vermont. That is exactly why they try to immediately take these people to Louisiana. Oh wow, and this is just sad. Ozturk's attorneys say she suffers from asthma attacks that have worsened in detention. Probably didn't even give her a fucking inhaler. I mean, she might have it now, but it probably took them like 3 weeks to get it to her. And then, lastly, Mahmoud Khalil. Mahmoud Khalil is an associate of Mahdawi. As I said, they co-founded several groups, and there's nothing that shows of any anti-Semitic activities anywhere. Anywhere. No public statements. No crimes. Nothing. No charges. He's a permanent green card resident. And he was detained and arrested or, black bagged and hauled off a couple of months ago when his wife was 8 months pregnant. She has since given birth to their child. And he wasn't even allowed to be released on just a temporary bail to go to the hospital and be there for the birth of his kid. They denied that. Denied a guy who has no criminal charges filed against him or alleged against him. Oh my God. Like, what country are we living in? This is insane. Like, what the hell is going on in this country? This is from Reuters. Judge demands Trump officials detail legal grounds for deporting Palestinian activists. May 7th, a federal judge instructed the Trump administration on Wednesday to detail the legal precedent for its plan to deport Mahmoud Khalil, a Palestinian activist whose presence in the country the government alleges could harm U.S. foreign policy interests. District Court Judge Michael Fabrias in Newark, New Jersey, ordered the administration to supply a catalog of every case in which U.S. officials have employed the law being used against Khalil, a Columbia University graduate student. The judge asked how specific. The judge asked to know specifics behind U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's determination of the risk posed by Khalil's presence in the U.S. He gave the government until 9:30 a.m. on Thursday to respond. The Department of Justice did not immediately respond to a comment. Khalil was arrested in March in his apartment building in New York City in the presence of his wife, a U.S. citizen. Khalil became a permanent U.S. resident last year and has been detained without charges since his arrest. The administration is seeking to deport Khalil under a section of immigration law that allows deportation of an alien whose presence or activities in the United States the Secretary of State has reasonable ground to believe would have potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences. Because protesting a genocide in the United States is against our foreign policy. Don't you forget that. Here's also, before we continue with that article, I just wanted to read this real quick. If you have any thought that Mahmoud Khalil is anti-Semitic. In a 2024 interview, Khalil said, "As a Palestinian student, I believe the liberation of the Palestinian people and the Jewish people are intertwined and go hand by hand. You cannot achieve one without the other." He characterized the movement as one for social justice and freedom and equality for everyone. Discussing concerns about anti-Semitism, Khalil said, "There is, of course, no place for anti-Semitism. What we are witnessing is anti-Palestinian sentiment that's taking forms, and anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, racism are some of these forms." In an interview with CNN, Khalil said the liberation of Palestine and the Palestinians and the Jewish people are intertwined, and that Jewish activists were an integral part of the movement. Let's continue. Trump administration officials have said student visa and green card holders are subject to deportation over their support for Palestinians and criticism of Israel's conduct in the war in Gaza, calling their actions a threat to U.S. foreign policy. Fuck U.S. foreign policy. What is this, the second genocide in the past decade we've supported? Don't forget us supporting Saudi Arabia's genocide in Yemen. Insane. And we wonder why people in the Middle East want to take up armed resistance against us. The administration suffered a setback last month when a federal judge in Vermont ordered another Columbia University student, Mohsen Mahdawi, to be released on bail. In April, an immigration judge in Louisiana ruled that the government could deport Khalil solely on the basis of an undated 2-page memorandum by Rubio determining that Khalil's presence could have adverse impacts on U.S. foreign policy interests. It's so dumb. Rubio wrote that Khalil should be removed for his anti-Semitic protests and disruptive activities, which fosters a hostile environment for Jewish students in the United States. Okay, I don't need to. Legal experts said there's little precedent for using the law that has been used against Khalil. It appears to have been tested just once in the courts, and it was used in 1995 to detain Mario Ruiz Maciel, a former assistant attorney general in Mexico. He challenged his detention in a case that was overseen by late federal judge Marianne Trump Barry, President Donald Trump's older sister. She found the law unconstitutional, but her ruling was reversed on appeal on technicality. What is happening in this country, bro? Holy crap. Like, the only terrorist supporters, the only pro-terrorist people it's us. It's this administration. It's the United States. We are black people. Oh, we are black bagging people in broad daylight. We are honeypotting people when they're just trying to go to their immigration hearings or trying to get their U.S. citizenship, and we'll detain them and arrest them there. We're ripping people away from their families. We're sending people with no criminal records to a fucking slave labor camp in El Salvador. Like, what are we doing? We are the terrorists here. Get that through your mind. That's where your tax dollars are going to. Whenever you hear Republicans saying, well, we want to be a responsible steward of your tax dollars, and can you believe your tax dollars are going to this or this or this? No, that is to cover the fact of where your tax dollars are actually going. Whew, I'm going to pop a fucking blood vessel. Holy hell. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below. And if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.